Good morning! Sitting in for Gretchen Ho, I'm Pauline Verzosa. It is Thursday, the 6th of March, and we're bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. And here are the stories that matter today. The Philippine Air Force confirmed that the missing FA-50 aircraft was found near Mount Calatungan in Bukidnon, but both pilots aboard did not survive the crash. And the latest health update from the Vatican, the Pope remains stable but is under close monitoring. The Commission on Elections issues show-cause orders to 6 senatorial candidates and 34 party list groups for alleged Fair Elections Act violations over illegal campaign materials. And stay tuned as we will discuss the issues with the education sector with Pasig representative and re-electionist Roman Romulo later on in the program. Welcome to Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda, Pope Francis remains in stable condition and has not experienced any new breathing crises. That's according to the Vatican. And to get more details on this, we have our Morning Matters host, Gretchen Ho, who joins us all the way live from Rome in Italy. She's still there covering the Pope's situation and condition. Gretchen, as we all know, Pope Francis is now on his 3rd week of hospital treatment for what started as double pneumonia. What can you tell us about his condition? And how did the Vatican usher in the Lenten season yesterday?
Good morning, Pauline. A good cold evening to you. It was a good start to the Lenten season as the Vatican reported that the Pope remained stable for the 2nd straight day, recording no respiratory insufficiencies. While the prognosis remained guarded, the Pope spent the day in his armchair and even did some work. Meanwhile, I got to spend Ash Wednesday with the top officials of the Vatican. It was a solemn procession that started with the liturgy at Sant Anselmo and then ended with a celebration of a Mass at Basilica di Santa Sabina. Holy Wednesday, with the Vatican's top officials, honored an ancient Roman tradition revived by John XXIII in the 1960s. Ash Wednesday may have missed the presence of Pope Francis, but he ensured the Catholic faithful received his message, marking the start of the Lenten season. In a homily read by Cardinal Angelo De Donatis, Pope Francis talked lengthily about human fragility. From dust we were created, and to dust we shall return. The pontiff also spoke about the tragedy of death and how, in many ways, society tries to banish death, but that it is a reality with which we have to confront. It was a moving reminder amid the health condition of the Pope, yet it was also a message that ended in hope, reminding everyone of the one who brings us from the ashes of sin and death to the glory of eternal life.
The homily of Pope Francis. We feel deeply united to him in this moment, and we thank him for the offering of his prayer and the sufferings for the good of the whole Church and the whole world. The holy ashes tonight will be scattered on our heads. These revive in us the memory of what we are, but also the hope of what we will be.
Indeed, it was a hopeful Wednesday as the head of the church, already in his 20th day at the hospital, remained stable for the 2nd straight night with no new respiratory crises. While Pope Francis continues to receive high-flow oxygen therapy, alternating with non-invasive mechanical ventilation and other treatments, there is promising progress. The 88-year-old pontiff was able to sit on his armchair and even call the parish priest in Gaza, a habit he began after the war erupted in October 2023. The late Wednesday bulletin mentions that the Pope's mood remains good, but that time is needed for further evaluation. Dan Arancina, a Filipino sacristan who served the Pope for 5 years, recalls his experience at the St. Peter's Basilica.
Very kind. Every Sunday after the Mass of the 12:15, he comes to visit us. And he gives us like a little prayer for everybody and always smile on his face. Whenever like we had a chance to meet him, we wanted to give like some gifts, and he always like receives.
His parents, Danilo and Annalisa, also shared that they felt special concern from the Pope.
Every Sunday after ng Angelos, wala man kami pero sila paglabas nila ng basilika doon sa likod before si Pope papasok sa kanyang apartment, nakikita ito, tinatawag, tinatanong kung sila daw ay pinapakain. Mahal niya ang mga kabataan. At kaya lagi niyang tinatanong kung inaalagaan ba sila ng ayos, pinapakain ba, yung ganon. So, alam namin na si Pope ay mahal na mahal niya ang mga kabataan.
I felt very sad, also because he's our Lolo Kiko, and every time I see him through the masses and also in the Vatican, I felt like that news, it hurt a little bit, but we pray every day, hoping that the Pope still will be the Pope. Etram edificabo ecclesiam meam edific.
Pauline, yesterday I met that family outside of St. Peter's Basilica, and I'm excited to tell you about that boy. He is a very special boy. Apart from being a sacristan, he was also part of the Sistine Chapel Choir, and as you know, they are a world-renowned choir for having heavenly voices, and a Filipino was part of that choir. He entered at the same time Pope Francis entered the papacy, so this is very special to him and his family, and they are with Pope Francis at this time. Meanwhile, it was also surreal for me being there inside Santa Sabina with the cardinals, the bishops. Of course, the message was about Lent, and to be honest, the language used was Italian, so I had to listen in to the live stream over in YouTube to understand the homily, but hearing the Pope send a message about human fragility and about death and about overcoming death, to look to the one who rises up from the ashes. It was a very, very moving experience. I hope not just for me, but also for the Catholics around the world who tuned in to that Ash Wednesday Mass. Pauline?
But Gretchen, Pope Francis will actually be celebrating his 12th anniversary of his papacy this coming March 13. We asked you this last night, right? Given his hospitalization, will there be any plans for the occasion, or will things be toned down given the situation right now in terms of the health of the Pope?
Actually, Pauline, tinanong na natin yan sa ating mga kaibigan dito kung may naririnig na sila ng mga plano. Kasi ginugol natin, parang wala pang anything published on it. But we were told by inside sources that there are plans to do a simple mass and a prayer of thanksgiving. And actually, it does not need this occasion to have that kind of celebration, because we do know the Pope, when it comes to celebrations, he's very, very simple. He doesn't want a lot of attention, unnecessary stuff. So, yung kanyang request ito ay talagang misa lamang at saka pagdarasal. At pangatlo, yung charity, yung pagbibigay sa mga homeless. Yan yung inaalagaan niya dito sa Vatican. Kung makikita mo, ito yung St. Peter's Basilica, meron niyang kolonato, may columns yan around it. And you'll be surprised because there are actual homeless living there during the night. And a while ago, we were able to bump into Filipinos who were feeding the homeless. There was a soup kitchen feeding them. And that's one of the things that Pope Francis gives attention to, the homeless around the Vatican. Talagang binigyan niya sila ng espasyo, inayaan silang tumuloy doon. And they expect more of that to continue through his anniversary this coming March 13.
Gretch, sorry, I just wanted to follow up also on that. I'm curious on the Filipino families living there, Filipino Italians. How long have they been staying there? And from what I understand, I actually got to visit Rome as well a few years ago, and they have established their families there. They're heavily integrated into the culture of Rome, of Italy, which of course heavily involves faith, the Catholic faithful.
You're right, Pauline. Italy has one of the most populous nations with Filipinos in it. Madaming Pinoy talaga dito, ano? Kasi daw, ang kwento sa atin nang nakausap natin, ito yung isa sa mga unang pinuntahan nila sa Europa. So yung Filipinos are very active here, but also very actively part of the religious community. Meron mga 50 religious communities, actually communities that are involved in religious work, and we were at the Centro Filipino a while ago. Ang kunento sa atin ay yung mga community na yon talagang nag-gather sila right after work. They are with each other all the time, nagdadamayan, magkakasama. Actually, pag naglalakad kami dito, ang dami namin nakakasalubong sa tren, sa daan, dito sa Vatican. There is a good number of clergy and religious here, about 500 to 600 priests and nuns, and the nuns outweigh the priests. Yan yung nakatira sa Rome, ano? Pero pag tinignan mo yung buong Italy, mas madami pa. I think the number is about 40,000. I think that's in Rome. So 40,000 Filipinos here. Italy, probably a larger number. But Rome, of course, we know this to be the center of religion of the Catholic faith. So nandito talaga sila lahat, yung ating mga kaparian at kamadrehan. Kaya na tayo nakapasok doon sa Santa de Sabina kasi merong mga madreng Pilipino na pumuslit sa atin. Binigyan tayo ng ticket.
Oh, ayun. And I remember Gretchen, you telling me before, right, on the big story na kahit dun sa hospital, may mga Pinoy din. So that gave you a bit of an insider access as well to the situation of the Pope inside the Gemelli Hospital. But thank you so much for giving us updates daily there from Rome. We're gonna let you rest again because it is 1 a.m. there in Rome right now. But thank you very much for reporting to us. That was Morning Matters host, Gretchen Ho. All right, in other news, the Philippine Air Force confirmed that the wreckage of the missing FA-50 fighter jet and the bodies of its two pilots have been found. Here's that report.
The missing FA-50 fighter jet of the Philippine Air Force was found at Mount Kalatungan in Bukidnon on Wednesday morning. Both pilots aboard did not survive the crash.
We would want to hold the details regarding their identities as of now, because we want to make sure na nasabihan na po talaga yung kanilang mga pamilya.
Rescuers located the crash site and the victims through the pilot's emergency transmitter and locator beacon. The FA-50, a supersonic light combat aircraft with night vision capability and one of the Air Force's most modern equipment, was in the middle of tactical night operations when it disappeared on March 4.
They lost contact with this specific aircraft several minutes before they reached their target area of operation.
Authorities are still determining whether the crash was caused by mechanical failure or human error.
Right now, it's hindi pa natin makonclude. Ginagather pa nila lahat ng mga facts doon sa Air Force unit namin. So mahirap tayong mag-conclude kung ano yung itsura ng wreckage and kung ano yung itsura ng mga pilots. Just to be clear, it was a crash. All the indications point to it. The wreckage, all indications point to it.
The Philippine Air Force asserted that all aircraft undergo thorough maintenance and inspection before any operation. The PAF also assured that its pilots are well trained to fly fighter aircraft.
Our pilots are well trained, especially if you are detailed to fly the FA-50 aircraft. Remember, ito yung pinaka-prime fighter aircraft natin.
For now, all 11 FA-50 units have been grounded while the incident is under investigation.
Well, Malacanang vows to abide by the order that will be imposed by the Supreme Court on PhilHealth funds. Palace Press Officer Undersecretary Claire Castro said they will respect the SC's decision on the matter. SC Associate Justice Antonio Co earlier said it may be time to overhaul the board of the state insurer over the utilization of its budget. PhilHealth remitted 60 billion pesos to the National Treasury, while the Supreme Court issued a temporary restraining order halting the transfer of the remaining funds.
Kung ano po ang ipag-uutos ng Supreme Court, yan po ay susundin natin. Hindi po natin tututulan, hindi po natin lalabanan kung ano po ang inuutos ng Supreme Court.
Meantime, Senate President Cheese Escudero dismissed calls to fast-track Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial. Escudero said no amount of signatures will amend the law nor convince him to violate it by convening the impeachment court. Now, this comes after faith-based group Contra Abo launched a campaign to gather 1 million signatures monthly. For her part, Senator Amy Marcos said there are different interpretations of the word forthwith in the Constitution, which has raised legal questions.
Senate President Cheese sent us the timeline, no? Although there are those among us, like the minority leader, who think it should be done earlier. The argument involves a single word in the Constitution, which is forthwith. Ang problema nga, hindi ko maintindihan ngayon kung talagang itutuloy sa 20th Congress, panibago na naman yun. So maraming legal questions. Ang realidad, ang impeachment is a fundamentally political process. And the Constitution gives great leeway to the Senate to establish its own rules and its own procedure.
Now, don't go away. We still have more stories coming up after this break. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You are still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The Commission on Elections has issued show cause orders to 6 senatorial candidates and 34 party list groups for posting campaign materials in unauthorized areas. COMELEC spokesperson Rex Laudianco said the violations is a criminal offense punishable by up to 6 years in prison, also the revocation of voting rights and disqualification from public office. Political parties may also face a 10,000 peso fine. COMELEC is reviewing the candidates' responses to determine if charges will be filed. Since February, the poll body has been removing illegal posters reminding candidates to use only cloth, paper, or cardboard and not plastic. And to talk more about this, we now have COMELEC spokesperson Attorney Rex Laudianco joining us on the line this morning. Hi, Attorney Rex, and thank you for joining us here on Morning Matters.
Good morning po, Ma'am Pauline, and to all the viewers of Morning Matters. Good morning po.
Okay, Attorney Rex, show cause orders now being issued by the COMELEC. Can you tell us first about the nature of the violations nitong mga illegal campaign materials na pinost ng mga candidates at party list groups?
Dalawa pong bagay yan. Una po, nagiging unlawful campaign materials kapag kapulampas sa sukat o kaya po yung material ay hindi po biodegradable, hindi recyclable. Second po, yung pong illegally posted campaign material, inilagay sa mga poste, kawad ng kuryente, mga puno, public places at mga bagay po na hindi po dapat pinaglagyan. Dapat po kasi sa common poster areas lang nilalagay ang campaign materials o kaya po sa private property with the consent of the owners po.
Attorney, meron po ba nga mga repeat offenders dun po sa mga inisyuan ng COMELEC ng show cause orders?
Sa ngayon po, wala naman po kami nakikita dahil immediately po pagkatanggap nila, yun ang nakita po namin ay tinanggal kagad nila yung pong mga illegal or unlawfully posted campaign materials. Sunod naman po, tinatanggap na rin po namin ang kanilang mga explanation doon sa show cause orders why they shouldn't be charged for violation of the Fair Elections Act, pati na rin po ng COMELEC resolution regarding the implementation of this.
Pero Attorney, meron na po ba nga nagpadala ng kanilang mga response, ng kanilang mga explanation? At paano naman po kung yung explanation nila ay hindi naman daw sila naglagay niyan? Posible yung kalaban daw nila para nga na matarnish yung pangalan nila o kaya mabigyan sila ng show cause order ng violation?
Tama po at may past incidences na rin po na ganyan. At really possible po yan. Kaya nga po binibigyan po natin sila ng pagkakataon to present their pieces of evidence, to adduce testimonies. At ang importante po kasi dito, may due process. Ang pinakamaganda po kasi dito, agad-agad nagko-comply po sila, tinatanggal ang campaign materials at tumutugon po doon sa ating pinapadalang mga notices. Sa ngayon po, sa dami na po ng activities natin, ang ginagawa na po muna natin, instead na mag-focus kami sa Operation Baklas, ay pinapadala na lang po natin sila ng notices to remove within 3 days yung kanilang campaign materials. Kung sakali pong within 3 days hindi tinanggal, magkakaroon po ng presumption na sila yung naglagay talaga at nagbe-benefit sila sa paglalagay ng mga either unlawful or illegally posted campaign materials.
Attorney Rex, halos lahat po ba ng mga report na nakukuha nyo ay galing po rin sa mga ordinary citizens, sa mga botante? Active naman po ba ang kanilang pagre-report pag may nakikita po silang illegal campaign material?
Opo. Yung pagdating po sa public transportation, sabi po ng Supreme Court sa One United Transport Coalition, ay pinahihintulutan po yan. Dahil kahit yan po ay public transportation, kahit may certificate of convenience or public conveyance, nananatili po ng private in nature at may karapatan po sila na maglagay ng campaign materials dahil meron pong private ownership din yan. Ang importante lang po, kung maglalagay ng campaign materials, nasa sukat dapat ang ikakabit po.
Okay, Attorney Rex, ilan naman po ang mga illegal campaign materials na natanggal naman po ng COMELEC since nagsimula ang campaign period noong Pebrero?
Right now, ma'am, wala po akong datos dun sa bagay nito dahil ang pinagpapaklas po namin at ang pinagsesend po namin ng notices ay ang local, ang mga field offices po natin. Hayaan niyo po, pag nakuha namin po ito, collated materials, lahat po ibibigay namin po sa inyo.
Attorney, pagdating naman po doon sa mga balota, ilan na po ba ang naiprinta? Dahil ilang buwan na lang po, malapit na rin po ang midterm elections. I understand may mga ilang disqualification cases, pero hindi na rin po naman natatanggalin yung mga pangalan ng mga kandidato doon, di ba, Attorney?
Tama po kayo, Ma'am Pauline, mananatili na po sila sa balota dahil napaka-imposible na po sa ngayon na magpalit ng bagong balota ang COMELEC. Umaabot na po tayo sa 56 million plus kaninang madaling araw at alam ko po any minute now ay mabibreak na natin yung 57 million mark. At inaasahan din po namin, Ma'am Pauline, na bago po matapos siguro yung ikatlo o ika-4 na linggo ng Marso, tapos na ang 71 million ballots. Ang titignan na lang po namin dyan ay patuloy yung verification dahil dapat bawat isang balota ay babasahin po ng ACM na intended para sa kanila at yung pong packaging and deployment. Kasunod na po yan.
Alright, maraming salamat po for all those updates at babalikan po namin ulit kayo, Attorney. Kung may mga tanong pa po kami leading up to the midterm elections sa May. But for now, thank you so much, COMELEC spokesperson, Attorney Rex Laudianco. Now, meantime, Senator Cynthia Villar defends her family's involvement in politics. In a forum, Villar said there is nothing wrong with dynasty who will serve the people. She added that it is the people that will ultimately choose their leaders, be it from a political dynasty. Villar is running to replace her daughter Camille, the incumbent Las Piñas congresswoman, who is now seeking a seat in the Senate. Now, in other news, inflation eased in February, driven by lower rice and vegetable prices. However, pork prices continue to rise, which poses a challenge for consumers. Here's that report.
It's actually a surprise inflation eased in February according to the Philippine Statistics Authority. The rising prices of goods and services tempered at 2.1% last month from 2.9% in January. The PSA said food inflation played a key role in the slowdown, especially with rice, which recorded a negative 4.9% inflation in February from negative 2.3% the month prior. The average price of regular milled rice slightly fell to around 47 pesos per kilo from 48 pesos at the start of the year. The PSA sees the maximum suggested retail price on imported premium rice as a main contributor to this development. And they expect inflation further tempering after the Department of Agriculture's intervention to lower the MSRP to 45 pesos from the current 49 pesos. That's as global rice prices are now on the decline, while the peso continues to show signs of strengthening. Another driver of low inflation, vegetables, which include tomatoes, also showing a marked depreciation in prices. From as much as 360 pesos a kilo in January, tomatoes now sell at an average of 49 pesos per kilo. Here's the dampener though. Inflation rates almost doubled for meat, including pork. From 8.4% in January, pork price hikes quickened to 12.1%.
We expect for pork to have the same thing na pag nagkaroon siguro ng maximum suggested retail price then for pork, it might lead to a deceleration or even a negative inflation.
Take this public market in Mandaluyong City, where the price of pork is still at least 440 pesos per kilo.
Tumataas. Mataas po talaga. Yung iba talagang tipid po talaga sila. Kahit 100 lang. Okay na sa kanila, pinag-aati po. Dating 100, isang lutuan lang. Ngayon, pinagdadalawa na nila yung 100.
Per the DA data, 1 kilo of pork is priced between 350 and 480 pesos in Metro Manila markets. But the agency assures this is the highest pork prices will go.
Meron nang nakikita na mga pagbaba. Yung sa farm gate natin, tumaas yan to a level na 250, 260. Now we're seeing 220, 230, maximum siguro 214.
Even Malacanang is assuring of more stable prices for meat once the DA enforces the MSRP for pork on March 10.
Ito po ay sinabi in particular ni Secretary Laurel. Ang parte po ng Kasim at Pigi ay bababa po between 350 to 360 per kilo. At ang liempo naman po ay maibababa po ng 380 per kilo.
For News 5 Caricator, we are One News.
And now shifting gears to sports in the UAAP, the USC Golden Tigresses continue their hot streak in the volleyball tournament. They powered past the UP Fighting Maroons in 4 sets at the Mall of Asia Arena in Pasay on Wednesday. Despite falling short of their comeback bid in their third set, USC used that momentum to pull away from UP in the fourth frame behind a 6-1 start. Regina Jurado led the way with 22 points on 21 attacks and a single block. This marks the Golden Tigresses' fourth straight victory, tightening their hold of the second spot in the standings at 4 wins and 1 loss, but just behind the NU Lady Bulldogs. Now, when we return, let's talk about the education sector and local politics with Pasig Representative and re-electionist Roman Romulo. Don't go away, Morning Matters. We'll be right back. Good morning, I am Pauline Verzosa, and this is Morning Matters. Students and teachers have been enduring heat to attend face-to-face classes at schools. Now, some students said they could not focus as they constantly need to use a fan or pamaypay. For some, mini fans are also a relief, while others turn to drinking sa malamig to be able to cool off. The Education Department said schools may adjust their class schedules and hold online classes instead. This as the agency admits that they cannot provide air conditioners to all classrooms.
Tinitingnan po natin ngayon na baka naman pwede na kung hindi man natin mapalagyan ng mga air condition ang ating mga classroom, ay at least makapaglagay ng mga ventilador at yung mga tinatawag nating ventilator.
And now let's get some insights on this from Pasig City Representative Roman Romulo, who chairs the House Committee on the Basic Education and Culture. Good morning, Congressman, and welcome to Morning Matters.
Yes, good morning, Pauline. Good morning to all your viewers. Again, we all know it's been hot this couple of days, so this is really something timely. Subject matter to talk
Very
about.
timely, Kong. I mean, just last Monday, you have some schools, some cities in the metro already suspending classes because of the high heat index that was anticipated that time. Parang ang finorcast po kasi ng Pag-asa was 46 degrees Celsius. But this is not the first time that classes have been suspended due to extreme heat. Sanay po kasi tayong mga Pilipino, di ba, pag malakas po yung ulan, suspension. But now, also because of the extreme heat, it's become a valid reason already. Because you have students who are unable to focus inside classrooms. Alam naman po natin, may init po yan. There's no proper ventilation. But with what DepEd proposed, Kong, na i-adjust yung oras or to shift to online classes, is that doable? Do you agree with that, Kong?
Yes, Pauline, first of all, I think we have to admit that online classes will not be as effective as face-to-face classes. So for now, maybe that is the solution that DepEd has. If you recall, we came from an adjusted academic calendar. Before April, we already shifted to April, May, and we went through the same problem. And we all know that online classes, especially for K-12 elementary classes, it would be difficult to really be able to give quality education. So I think there must be adjustments, and it's not, DepEd must come up with better adjustments, not to shift to online. Secondly, the double shifting of classes is not really that effective also. We all know that because of the number of competencies and subjects, it has become difficult for students. So really, I hope DepEd really considers, first, I think we should really take a look at our curriculum. I think it is high time that we put our curriculum solely on functional literacy. Let us focus on the essentials so that the time that we have during face-to-face, it is something productive for the student. What is functional literacy? Functional literacy is simply that the student knows how to read and understands what he or she is reading. So reading comprehension. Secondly, it is math grade level appropriate. Third, it is really the sciences. And all others, I think we can try to put in, but we should really focus on functional literacy from grades 1 to 12, especially for now that our classrooms are not ready for the rainy season, nor are they ready for the hot season. So instead of going to online, instead of limiting the number of class hours, let's focus on the most essential things. Reading comprehension, grade level appropriate, math, grade level appropriate. I think we should start doing that now.
But Congressman, what do we do about the suspensions? I mean, how do we use that time productively? I think, I remember before you proposed to shift back to the old academic calendar. Is that still something you advocate for?
No, the initial, our original academic calendar was really June, July to March. But then the pandemic came in. When the pandemic came in, if you recall, that was March 2020. When that came in, we could not hold graduations. And then that was going up now to the start of the next academic calendar, remember, June? But we did not know what COVID-19 was then. We did not know the effects, we did not know how to combat it. That is why there was a shift then. We shifted it to August to sometime to May. But then we encountered this problem about the heat, remember? And that time, we already had class suspensions. And we all know class suspensions and online learning is not helpful for quality education. So that is why we shifted back to this academic calendar, which is June, July to March. But now, maybe because of climate change, maybe the weather is really changing, but it's still March now and the heat is unbearable. That is why the solution really here is to cut the number of subjects and competencies, go to those that are essential really, and that is functional literacy, reading comprehension, grade level appropriate, and math, grade level appropriate. Once we have that, then we can start assigning, then maybe at that point in time, asynchronous or online will be helpful already. Modules will be helpful because the student, the learner, at least they have the basics, which is reading comprehension and math grade level appropriate.
But Congressman, what about having proper ventilation for classrooms? I mean, when you talk about the heat, that's not going to go away, right?
That's
and every year it just keeps getting hotter. It's being attributed to climate change. But what can we do about classrooms? Bakit po ba wala pong budget para dyan at laging sira-sira rin yung mga electric fan?
Pauline, in the long run, that is the solution. Let us fix our classrooms, our school buildings so that they are weather resistant. But the fact that we have now is this. We have a shortage of at least 165,000 classrooms. Even if we had enough funds, we will not be able to build that many classrooms in 1, 2, or 3 years. Secondly, in urban centers, we have a problem on buildable space. So even if you have the budget, what land do you use?
Right.
So that is why I'm saying, in the long run, that is the perfect solution. I think if we're able to make our classrooms weather resistant and conducive to learning, whether it's heat or rain, that's the perfect thing. But based on our track record, and the circumstances surrounding urban centers, maybe it will not be possible to do that in the immediate future, not in 1, 2, 3 years. So let's go for that. But in the meantime, what do we do with our students, our learners? So let's adjust the curriculum. Let us focus on functional literacy, reading comprehension, age appropriate, so that they know how to read and they comprehend what they are reading, grade level appropriate and math grade level appropriate. Filipinos are by nature smart.
Yes.
On their own, equip them with the basics. They will be able to use technology in the proper way. They will be able to read books. And I think that is the solution. There's a long-term and a short-term solution. That is correct. Let's fix the infrastructure. Let us make the ventilation proper. Let us, if possible, some cities if they can put air conditioning or good ventilation, that's fine. But that will not happen in the next 1, 2, or 3 years. For a majority, we have 25 million students in our DepEd schools. We have 47,000 school buildings, schools right now. With 47,000 schools nationwide for DepEd, it would not be possible in 1, 2, 3 years to finally fix this. And with a shortage of 165,000 classrooms, so we have to have a short-term solution. Or else, what happens to our learners now?
Yeah. But I also wanted to get your thoughts, Congressman, on blended learning. There's a proposal to have blended learning for the summer season.
Again, Paulina, blended learning, for me, blended learning means there's going to be an online component.
Right.
And we all know online is not as effective as face-to-face. Second, we know based on our international assessment results, based on our local assessment tests, our NAT, Carla, ELNA, or the international PISA, say a PLM or TIMSS, we lack the basic functional literacy component.
Yeah.
Without that, if you do not have proper reading comprehension, if you do not have the basics, math grade level appropriate, once you do online, especially if Wi-Fi is not clear, Wi-Fi, even Metro Manila, is erratic. So the student will probably tune out. The teacher may just tune out.
So kung ang sinasabi niyo po, kailangan face-to-face para dyan?
Face-to-face. But I know that there are limitations now, so let us now fix the curriculum. Let us limit it to the basics, which is functional literacy, reading comprehension, grade level appropriate, and math grade level appropriate.
Going back to the fundamentals.
Fundamentals,
basically.
yes.
Ayan. All right, let's move on to a different topic. We also wanted to ask you about the controversial comprehensive sexuality education, CSE. This has been implemented for many years now, right? It's part of the curriculum, sexual education.
Yes. First of all, in 2012, we passed a reproductive health law. Reproductive Health Law of 2012. Under the Reproductive Health Law of 2012, it defines reproductive education, health education. And it says there, anything and all that pertains to the reproductive system. So that is a law, that should be, that is what is being implemented. However, they introduced a new term, which is comprehensive sexuality education. That is different from reproductive health education.
Okay.
Comprehensive sexuality education is undefined in the Philippines. There is no law that defines that. So effectively, what happens there is that we adopt the foreign definitions.
Different countries,
yes. And that is where the problem lies. First, it can change anytime. Secondly, it is more comprehensive. It covers more subject matters than the reproductive health. When the proponents tell us that the problem with the Philippines is that overpopulation and things like that, the answer to that is the reproductive health. And we have that already. And we have a defined term for that. So why introduce a new term which is not defined under Philippine law. The only definition that where that was introduced was actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, a department order. It is not a law. It is
Simply a department
order. So that is the bone of contention. If you want comprehensive sexuality education, why don't you spell it out to the public? What do you mean by comprehensive sexuality education? What does that cover, and what is the objective? Why are the proponents? They seem to just they confuse us by using the two terms interchangeably when it is not interchangeable.
So for you, Kong, there's no need for it. I mean, you're already satisfied with the reproductive health education that we have right now, or do you admit may mga pagkukulang din po doon?
Well, if the problem that the proponents are saying it is adolescent
teenage pregnancy,
then reproductive health is enough. I mean, the definition under the law says it is very clear. All matters pertaining to the reproductive system. Now, if the proponents have another objective, then that is when we have to publicly talk about this. Let us discuss it so that even parents are aware of what it encompasses. Right now, proponents dismiss it as for teenage pregnancy, but we already have an answer for that. So that. That really begs the question, why are you proposing a new term undefined in Philippine law when actually, what is the objective? You have to answer that so that we can, the public can appreciate what we're talking about. The public can also give their 2 cents worth.
Well, Kong, you also have critics saying na hindi daw designed ang CSE, ang Comprehensive Sexual Education, para sa mga Pilipino. You did touch on it, right? It is based also on what other countries are doing. Let's say they're more liberal. So paano po ba, how do you suggest sexuality should be taught in the Philippines?
Yes. First of all, the proponents should not hide behind teenage pregnancies. They should be honest enough and direct enough to tell the public why they think we need comprehensive sexuality education. Once they are honest enough to tell the public what the objective is, let the public now ask questions, let the policymakers ask questions, and then at the end of the day, it may be acceptable, but right now, because they're hiding the use of this term under teenage pregnancy, which already has reproductive health education responds to that already.
Okay, Congressman. Well, you are also a co-chairperson of the Second Congressional Commission on Education, EDCOM2,
yes.
And you recently released your annual report noong January. It's the
Yes.
second annual report of
Yes.
EDCOM2. Ang pinaka-salient point doon na nakita ko, Kong, is fixing the foundations.
Yes.
We talk about fixing the foundations. This is early childhood, right? The
Yes.
first 1,000 days. Help us understand, ano po ba yung mga pinaka-astounding concerns that you found in early childhood education here in the Philippines?
When we talk about early childhood education, that pertains to all Filipinos 5 years old and below. So that will also cover the first 1,000 days.
First 1,000 days.
But it is up to 5 years old, in fact. Because if you will note, a student enters kindergarten, at the age of 5 up. So below 5, they are really out in the community. Right now, the law that governs them is the daycare centers. They are supposed to go to our daycare centers, and there, they are supposed to be taught a basic motion, then develop your thinking. But the problem really is, it's nutrition.
Nutrition?
Meaning food intake. Based on that EDCOM2 Year 2 report, it comes out that there is a report that only 25% of Filipinos below 5 years old actually receive nutritional food. According to the World Bank study, if you are stunted by the age of 5, meaning stunted physically, and also your brain development does not develop properly, then you are already stunted.
You're
and
way
you cannot,
behind, yeah.
And you cannot recover that anymore. That is what they tell us. After 5 years old, even if you go to K-12, and we have the best feeding programs in our K-12, you will never recover anymore the the potential that was lost in your brain development and also physical development. So that is correct. We should focus now on below 5 years old, and the focus should be on providing nutritional food. Now, people will say, Congressman, but that is too much. We cannot feed everybody.
Right.
That's what they're going to say. That is why under the legislation that we have, it will really be everyone helping each other, the local governments and the national government. But the very basic thing is data also. There is no data. Maybe local governments have the data of how many pregnant women are there in their barangays, in their cities, but there's no central depository of that. We don't know what is happening to the first 1,000 days, how if they have nutritional food, if the mothers have nutritional food. Under this proposed legislation, that will happen now. We are asking all local governments to ask their barangays and themselves to have a department to oversee, and many of them have this data, but that data must be submitted to the ECCD so that we can make a national plan on how to combat first the first 1,000 days. But after that, when they are born, what if we find that there is some disability? Then we are also able to address that. So that is why early childhood is so important. And right now, under the proposed legislation, the focus, the objective is correct. We will focus on under five under. We will ask the local governments to provide us with the data, and the national government through the ECCD will be the repository of that, so that we can have a nationwide game plan.
Well, Kong, okay, aside from the early childhood concerns, meron din po yung nagulat ako actually personally, dun sa mga principal. You have a lot, several, is it 45% of DepEd schools with no principals right now in the country?
Or only have principals.
Or only have principals, rather.
That is part of the problem, in fact, that we don't have enough, we don't have principals, in fact, in most of our schools. Secondly, even our teacher career progression is not that strong. In fact, before the law was passed, the recent law that was passed, we did not have guidance counselors in probably 90% or 95% of our schools. We did not have a focused a program for our learners with disabilities. But right now, we've already passed the inclusive, the law on inclusivity for our learners with disability. That is now being fixed. We just recently signed the IRR for the mental wellness, so that we can possibly have at least a professional in all schools or in clustered schools. Of course, that's capacity building, and with the ECCD, and now I think the anti-bullying.
Yes.
That is now, we've recommended for the DepEd to fix the IRR on that matter. And then with respect to the career progression, that is now being, finally now being fixed, but there's also a legislation that will follow. And then with the principals, I think DepEd is now taking a look at the qualifying exams for school heads, so that to see, maybe that's where the clog is. Secondly, to ensure that nakatutok na tayo and make sure that we have principals in all schools. And why is it important to have principals in all schools? You know why? The importance of having a principal in all schools is that a problem in one school, especially if you're in the Visayas, in Mindanao, will not be the same as the problem in one school here in Metro Manila.
Yeah.
Even in Metro Manila, a school in Quezon City and Pasig may have different problems. That is why you need a competent school head to be able to adjust. But now that we don't even have a school head, a principal in those schools, how can we expect these adjustments to happen?
Well, we still have so many to discuss about Philippine education right now. But we're running out of time, Congressman. Let's talk about your re-election bid for Congress. Here in the midterm elections in May, ano pong nagtulak sa inyo, Kong, tumakbo ulit?
Well, first of all, in the city of Pasig, we have many programs that I think we really want to finish. But I think the most important thing is that under the leadership of our Mayor Vico Soto, I will be very honest, good governance has really been introduced by Mayor Vico Soto. But good governance does not happen overnight. It does not happen actually in 1 or 2 terms. And right now, there are still many challenges. And I think
What are those challenges, Kong, if I may?
well, there are still those with the mindset not aligned with good governance. There are those that still want to go back to the old traditional ways. And I think the leadership of Mayor Soto here is so important. So I think the
So
support...
there's pushback.
Well, of course, it's been decades that and not only in Pasig. I think nationwide.
In the political system.
Yes, we've really had a traditional way of doing things. And Mayor Vico has introduced good governance. And the change is actually being seen and being felt. But then, of course, there's the steps. There's still many steps to take. So I think that probably is the overriding thing that we are able to see to the end, that good governance program is finally institutionalized.
Okay, Congressman, I have to ask also, if you get elected for this is going to be your final term as Congressman, are you already looking ahead of that as far as the Senate, if ever?
No, what I'm looking at is really there are many laws that we've introduced in the 18th in this Congress. We still have the ECCD. We have the voucher system that must be also corrected. And we want to oversight all these programs so that we can assure ourselves and the Filipino people that at least we have a good education system.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Congressman Roman Romulo. We thank you for all your insights, and we'd love to have you again next time to talk more about the education system. All right, thank you very much. That was Pasig City Representative and Chairman of the House Committee on Basic Education and Culture, Congressman Roman Romulo. And that's today's episode of Morning Matters. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Pauline Verzosa, sitting in for Gretchen Ho. We are One News, all sides, all the time.